Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Digital Transformation Bytes, the podcast that covers digital transformation and everything in that surrounding area. I'm really pleased today to say I've been joined by Kenneth Korhonen, who is a director at Stereoscape, and they are based in Finland. Well, Kenneth himself is based in Finland. Say hello, Kenneth.
Hi, Bradley. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, pleasure. So, look, we'll get into digital transformation and we'll get into all those wonderful things in a minute. But I think it'd be good for you to kind of give us a little bit of a background into yourself, a little bit of a background into Stereoscape. So, yeah, I'll hand over to you, Kenneth.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. So, what should I start with? My background is in operational excellence. So, I'm a lean expert, and basically that means that I've been very involved with process improvement, waste reduction efforts, and human centricity, enabling people to succeed at what they do, teaching people problem solving, creating structures for them to manage root cause analysis and leading improving what they do on the work floor or any organizational level. I got into XR technology, because of the potential that I saw in the digital transformations. So that's basically how I ended up in XR, because I saw through digitalization you can enable people to succeed much better.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about Stereoscape and what Stereoscape do.
Sure. Stereoscape, we're a pioneer in Finland in 3D virtual environments creation. Our business, most of our business comes from marketing. So marketing revenue, make things look pretty through interactive video and multimedia solutions. Also, the use of 3D animations, 360 videos, interactive videos, and that's part of our business. One other part is virtual reality. So we can create virtual reality training for basically, any kind of technical skills training or onboarding, safety training, as well as soft skills training. And then the third one is basically what I'm involved with. And I'm the director of industrial XR solutions and digital transformation, process improvement, digitalizing your workflows and the use of wearable smart technology to create those better processes, productivity, safety, quality related things.
Yeah, so no, thank you for that. Yeah, and it is quite interesting. It's quite a variety of services there, and obviously, as you know, we work in closely, especially on the digital workflows and digital transformation in that industrial environment and that. So I know that quite well. But it's interesting to hear about the other areas of the business as well, like 3D, like the marketing side and the 360 views and that sort of thing. It's a great offering, and I agree, definitely pioneering in Finland. And like I said, there's a great vibe around all those different services at the moment. But we mentioned digital transformation, and you mentioned digital transformation there. One question I like to ask everyone is, what does digital transformation mean to you? Because I ask that question because I really do feel digital transformation means so many different things to so many different people. And I say exactly the same on every podcast. And it's always interesting because you always get a slightly different answer from each individual. So a question to you, Kenneth, what does digital transformation mean to you?
Well, basically, you're moving from an analog to digital format, which is basically you're trying to replace physical movements of documents, paper or checklists, or if you're making you have an auditing process or whatever, um, you have it already in a digital format, which enables you basically to utilize this data more effectively. You're able to do problem solving, data analysis with better, more available data. All of that is related to digital transformation. You're making your own processes and your business more effective, essentially.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I think looking at it, it is something where we see a lot of those companies using analog processes. Let's be honest, pen and paper, a lot of businesses and those sorts of things. So it is, and I think digital transformation. I don't know how you feel. It's not just improving those processes; it's all the knock-on effects that the business can take advantage of. Whether that's business intelligence, analytics, auditability, and those sorts of things. So when you're discussing with your clients and those sorts of things, looking at those different elements, like I said, that improving the processes, improving the process in digital definitely delivers productivity as well as the other things I just mentioned. How do you encourage your customers and the companies you engage with to begin their digital transformation journey? And what are the key selling points that you're taking to your customers?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, basically, how do you suggest someone to begin? First of all, you have to understand the realities, where the company is at, the maturity level, and just first understand where they are, and then you can start basically making like an adjustment on your. It's like, how are you going to bring these things to them? Somebody going from a working process that's still done with pen and paper, and it just take a easy workflow and show it. This is how you could do it on a smartphone or maybe a wearable smart device. They'll basically understand the value very quickly. Like, oh, now I get it. So it's really about how effectively can I or you communicate the value. Like, where's the return on investment coming from? Like, and that really has to do with how well you understand the customer processes or the organization that you're trying to improve or the specific processes, because it is essentially you're transferring it process by process. You get out to one, you start with one, and then you expand on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is very much a land and expand kind of exercise with customers. And I take that first point very importantly. Speaking to a lot of customers, locally and around the world, try to focus on that one process is very, very key to start with that initial use case. And you mentioned ROI, return on investment. And I think return on investment can be measured in different ways. There is reduction of risk, reduction of cost, increase of maybe top line sales because of more productivity. But it's very, very, very important to understand those elements when you're engaging with a customer, and then trying to, I suppose, operationalize the processes for the customer, and then see the knock-on effect that digitizing it will have for those customers. So that's the key areas to kind of get into. I agree. But what do you think are the key challenges? And there is challenges. I don't know how you see it, and I don't know the Finnish market nowhere near as well as you would, of course. But there is challenges to get people to engage. There is challenges to get people to try. But what do you think the key challenges you've seen from companies during the digital transformation process? And I suppose, how can we go about, I suppose, giving them the confidence and helping them solve those issues?
Yeah. Well, you do have to try to understand the pain points. Why are you trying to, first of all, digitalize their processes, and what's driving it? Like, you have to understand the problem behind it. But I'm fortunate in a way that Finnish companies, they're very technology driven, so the maturity level is normally much higher than I would experience in other locations around the world. Um, so there's already an understanding and potentially digital tools and solutions available at different companies, and then it's basically trying to understand how your solution is improving upon that or changing in some direction that's future proof. Like if you have something different to offer, and in this context, like XR technology, how to utilize that wearable technology to help you free your hands in visualize some information that makes it intuitively easier to understand and have a lower cognitive load to solve problems, and instant problem solving skills with the camera on a, for example, a RealWear device or whatever. You're enabling so many other things potentially to help people and organizations basically to become more efficient and serve their customers better.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's a good point. I think the XR side of things, and using different styles of immersive technology, and using things like assisted reality or mixed reality to support the process is very interesting, because the maturity of the market does help. I agree, and I think there is different markets at different levels. I've spoke to a lot of customers naturally in the United Kingdom, and we see such varying levels of where people are, but there's definitely that enthusiasm now to engage. But like everything, like that initial question is that key challenge, and that key challenge is showing people the benefits,
Right.
showing people the knock-on benefits of, I suppose, when you use digital workflows, whether it's for a phone, a tablet, like a RealWear device or other smart devices, and that it's that live data, that enriched data. So naturally, you reduce wastage, you increase compliance, you reduce risk, because everything's auditability, which is a massive gain. But that enriched data can help a business make so many better decisions further down the line, using that information maybe in Power BI, business analytics, and those sorts of things. Do you see a lot of your customers now in they work by the intelligence they're gaining from using digital transformation?
Yeah, of course. Naturally, the companies that do take on these new ways of doing or working, they of course understand it very quickly, and the feedback from clients is great. You can see the enthusiasm in especially the younger generation. Like, wow, I never knew about this. This is cool, and you can see the enthusiasm in their eyes, and they're like, holy moly, this is cool, and it's great, because that's something that's going to be expected, from the youth, and it is also kind of like a selling point if you're trying to be competitive on the market with in terms of like recruiting. This is how we do it here. It's like it's going to be so much more attractive to somebody that's untrained in a process, and then just come in and just understand like what's expected of them. It's like you help them succeed in their work by visualizing different work tasks, and those are specific like work tasks. When you're digitalizing the process, you have a workflow that's step by step visually helping the people complete the work. Is just amazing. Well, they just get it.
And I think it's a really good point. I think the skills gap is a challenge for, I think, every market all around the world. I think we have those senior engineers, senior members of staff that are now looking at retirement, and a lot of customers are facing that challenge of, how do we encourage the right talent into our business? And then how do we give them the right expertise and the right training? And it is a big part, I think, of the attraction point of view of it has to be cool. And I think that's a big part of it. And, I've had this conversation with other people on, if you're turning up and, they're fresh out of whatever education they have, they hit the ground running, they get onto the shop floor and they get given a clipboard and a pen, and then told they have to go and type it back up later. So you have to spend all your time doing these inspections or this process and that process. Then you have to go back to your desktop and type it up.
Yeah.
Or, here's a fully integrated tablet, or here's a fully integrated smart device, which have data and documents and information to support you. And then everything you do is naturally picked up and then recorded. All photographs you take, all images you take, everything is instantly saved and done and reported.
Yeah.
I think cool comes into it. I think it is. I think A, it's cool. B, it looks cool. And C, you and I know it's a far, far more efficient way to work.
Yeah.
Do you see it as a big part of ticking the box of that challenge businesses have in the skills gap area?
Of course. I mean, and, in addition, it's basically, I understand it, you understand it. Anybody that's worked in any context with this technology understands it. But the thing is, like, when we're thinking about this new, let's say, new technology, it's already proven in several locations and organizations that this has added value, like, immensely. And it's a struggle to kind of convince somebody. And that's where we come into, like, the challenges. It's not only about the maturity level of a company. Like, you can go from pen and paper to somebody that's already high level in their digital transformation process, but then you have this so-called new to the organization technology, like wearable devices and the software behind that. Then you get comments like, I've never seen this before. I'm going to get murdered if I go with this and try to apply it, to the guys working on the shop floor. They've been there. They've worked, for decades on the shop floor. They're just not going to take this. How about you try? And let's see. And then you see the adoption. You're actually making it better. You're making the processes easier and better. Like, how wouldn't that be a success? You just make it happen. You try it out. Start with a small, restricted pilot or whatever. Start with one process, and have some KPIs. Has it impacted your productivity? Has it impacted your quality? Has it impacted the safety aspect, or freeing up your hands and whatever? How much less travel time? How many less steps are you taking? With all the documentation, everything. We understand it. We get it. But sometimes you just have to communicate so it gets through. You get that understanding, and it takes time to kind of like it's a change management process, just like anything else. Just get everyone together, ask their opinion. How's this going? How would you use this? And then there's this another side, the cultural side. You have business cultures that might have like old structures, siloed structures. This is my responsibility, and this process is covering all of these things. It's like, this is mine, and I can't affect what's happening here. And if I go here, I can't affect that. So now it takes time to get all those people together and convince them all individually in an organization that culturally is not adaptive, so there are these challenges.
Yeah, I think about it. And again, you look at both ends. So like I said, talking and how it can help the younger generation coming in. But naturally, when you look at use cases and you do aim for the senior engineers, I think a massive part of engagement, as like you said, is user acceptance. And one of the things that I do, and we do it Interware when we do engage, is that there's kind of three areas that are key. We've talked about return on investment as a massive part of it. Where are they going to see money benefits, time benefits, risk tenant time benefits? They are key. The other area away from the users is always the IT side of things, the architecture, where it's going to fit in, what happens with the data. But one or the other, the key area is user engagement. And when we look at the workflows and we look at digitally transformation procedures and that sort of thing, we look at how we're going to do it. We as a company like to try and engage with those end users as soon as possible to try and get that involvement. And I think if you get that involvement, where you were saying that we've done it this way and, we're a bit siloed and this is different than that, I think that's where you've got to try and get to them as early as possible, because then you can get their intellectual input on how to digitally transfer that procedure. That procedure has been pen and paper for 20, 30, 40 years or whatever it is. Well, how best can we do it and how best would it work? And would you be willing to be that person then that goes and tests it in the real life environment? I think that is key to getting that user acceptance. Are you seeing those sorts of things as well, where you have to try and get to the end users? Having someone more senior explain it to you and do it, who doesn't actually do the procedure, has value, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it offers the same level of value as going to the people that actually do the task.
Yeah, you're right. As a lean expert that's traveled around the world in different facilities, it is key to go down to the shop floor and just understand like what is happening. You have to go and see for yourself. And the guys that are working on the shop floor, in the warehouse, in the maintenance processes, they're experts at what they do. They know where the problems lie. You go and ask them, what are your frustrations? Like, what is causing you not to succeed at, your work?
Yeah.
They'll give you a list of 20 things, and then it's like, okay, how to enable the root cause problem solving of these things. And that's another thing about lean. Lean is a mindset. Basically, you respect people, you respect their time, and basically you try to add value to the customer. And from this context, also, the customer doesn't only mean the customer who you're selling your product or service to, but it can also be the next process step. That next process step is a customer of the previous one. So if you can get set that you're only providing quality, value to the next process step, it takes a lot of time to get that ingrained. But it is about, respect for people, respect for their time. And you're trying to transform a frown into a smile, basically.
Yeah. So and that's the toughest challenge.
It is until you prove that this actually helps them. And then it's quick. You said, user experience. You have to make sure that it works. And you just can't go like, here's a set of railwares and here's a software, use that. It's not going to work. It's a process. You have to teach them first, how to use it and in which context. You just don't go and copy paste the existing processes. Like, there's so much hidden waste in there that you can actually, it gives you an opportunity to rethink how you're actually doing it now. And you'll see that there are hidden productivity benefits to be gained when you're thinking about moving from current state to a future state. How could you be doing this? So
no, I agree, and I see exactly the same. And I think when customers really engage, that's what comes out when we work with those end users. the process does start off as almost, well, this is what we do and this is what it would look like as a digital process. And then through testing and through the thought process from the end user again, it gets critiqued quite quickly. And it's a shadow of itself effectively when it goes out. But like you said, it's far more effective. The productivity goes up through the roof. And then everything it generates for that person, it massively improves his job. And I guess that is, if we nutshelled what we've just talked about there, that's effectively what you have to achieve. You have to improve the experience for the individual. You know, they have to be able to achieve their job still. They have to follow the process because the business needs that process. But how do you make it a better experience for that individual? And if you can make it a better experience for that individual, that's when deployment becomes an easier thing. Because like you said, you're not just shoving something under someone's nose then and saying, well, this is what we've decided your job should look like. If you engage with them and understand their challenges, understand the problems, understand, I suppose, the downtime, the waiting for information, the waiting for, such and such person has to do his stage of the procedure before they can do the next stage of their procedure. If all that becomes automated, if all that becomes quick, if all data is available to any employee, then everything improves. And if you can improve a person's job, that's when you get buy-in. And I think if you get buy-in from the shop floor or, whatever sort of business you're dealing with, that buy-in from your end, the customer you've been engaging with in their business will naturally improve it. And I think you hit another really good point as well for digital transformation is the customer of the customer. Yeah. We see that a lot. I see that a lot of Interware now where we're offering end services which historically may have been tested or, for one example, we do fuel testing for one customer, and that was a procedure that was done in pen and paper. They then sent the information back. They then emailed the information to the customer. Now they're doing the procedure through a Workflow Plus, and then they're generating the data into Power BI and then sharing the Power BI dashboards with their end customer. So their end customer is not only have we improved the process for the individual in our customer, but then the end customer is seeing that information and that data in real time on Power BI dashboards. So there's no more waiting for an email to come through. Everything is live in real time. So you're improving the lives of the individuals in the customers, and then for their customers, they're getting real time information instantly. So it's really, really interesting. And again, like you said, it's getting to see those challenges with your customer and understanding those challenges and then helping them see the longer term benefits. So it's interesting. You mentioned lean a couple of times. And I think, how will successful digital transformation help a company achieve lean operating practices and procedures?
Okay. I feel that lean can be, or let's say it this way, XR can enable a lean culture more effectively. So what do I mean by this? I mean that when you're able to help people in real time to solve problems, to eliminate those frustrations in their work, and also help them in better decision making, you're enabling them to effectively use their own creativity more better, which makes the work more meaningful, and that in essence will improve the overall working experience of every individual. Of course, there are people that just enjoy the static work that they're used to. That's normal, and there, of course, you can allow this and you can enable it for the individuals that want to. But normally, people need that kind of, they need to feel that they're moving forward. So it's not stagnant. And really, an organization's real superpower really is effectively whether or not your organization is set up to learn and relearn, unlearn, relearn new things, and you have to be adaptive. And when you have a digital process or like a low code software that enables an organization to change processes on the fly, that means it's not behind a super heavy bureaucratic structure where you have to go into all of these Excels to make sure that everything's involved. You just draw a process differently. You fill in the content in that specific work step, and boom, it's done. And when it's integrated into the system, it's just more effective and more quick to change or build a new standard, because standardized work is you're always striving to improve on that standard. So when you make an improvement, you improve it, you make it a new standard, and then again you improve it, and then make it another, that continuous improvement. So you're effectively enabling organizations to be better through making it easier through these digital tools and software.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I think that's a really good point as well. It's the ability to learn and to affect quickly. I think, I suppose, digital transformation gives you that ability where, yeah, if a process is great, but the feedback from the team is actually, I think we could save 10%, 15% here, and if we evolve this, but then I suppose in the pen and paper era and existing procedures that are not digitally based, that becomes a task in itself to then evolve that process, distribute that process, inform everyone that process is done and changed, and then to make sure there must be a period where half the team then do the old procedure and then half the team are doing the new procedure. And that becomes a knock-on amount of time to then actually get into that more efficient procedure. But digital transformation, like, as we know, gives you that ability that if you looked at a procedure and you said that, X amount of the team members say if we changed steps 8 and 9, we would see more efficiency here. You can make those changes instantly. And then because it's digital and people are accessing it from phones, tablets, smart devices, as soon as you publish that change, every one of those team members gets the brand new procedure, right, and then instantly then hits the new process, and then has the ability to feed back in again. Actually, yes, step 8 was brilliant, but step 9 maybe still needs to be there, so we can evolve it. And as we know, you can do a lot of drafting processes as well. So you can do sectional checking, where obviously you may say that 5 members out of the team will check the new process, feed back on that new process before we publish it to the wider team. So it must just reduce time waste dramatically and just instantly get those results. And I suppose on your point you made as well, what's really interesting as well is the intelligence that's drawn from those people doing digital workflows, and then be able to review that data. It must improve things like, preventative maintenance and predictive maintenance are two that I talk about quite a lot, where customers have always been in that preventative maintenance circle, but then suddenly having all this information collected from their teams, they can actually start predicting things and creating data sets, creating data lakes, and then sets from there where they can actually see the information that's relevant to their assets, to their people. So do people see that sort of benefit as well from the intelligence they gain?
Yeah, of course. And I think you brought up a good point that we have to drive through, like that understanding that when you have your processes in a digital format, you're effectively collecting this operational data that is related to the work, the actual work that's being done. And that's super important. You have very effective, data now. Who is doing what? Where are they doing it? How are they doing it? How long is it taking them to do it on an individual level? And then you get into like real operational data. Like now you can measure the variation between the processes and this work steps individually within the process. And that's where a lot of value can be, or insights can be drawn from. Like now, it takes 5 people 45 seconds in this work step when it takes 120 seconds for these 2 other individuals. Well, what's happening here? Let's go and ask the question: where are we failing as an organization to support these guys? Have we done something wrong? Is there something in our organization that we have to improve to help these guys succeed? So let's just go and ask that question. Now we have, first of all, that understanding. Like, now we know to ask the question from these guys. Like, how can we support you? Can you please show me how you do this work? Yeah, okay, I'll show you. This is how we do it. And then we go get a tool from over there, and then we come here and we fix the screws and put the nuts and bolts. And oh, okay, now I get it. We've trained these 5 individuals that the tool is available right here. And these guys, it slipped through the cracks of our training processes or onboarding that they didn't understand that the tool is available right there. But they do know that there is a tool over there that they can use. So now you know to ask the question. And this is a simple example, but you get the point. You have that relevant operational data that you can now pull from to understand where you can apply these improvements.
To be fair, it is a simple point, but it's an amazing point because I don't know what your experiences with businesses are, but sometimes it's the little things that get missed. And it's not just the training may be wrong sometimes. I've seen it where you look at large factories and in manufacturing processes. I've also seen it in construction sites and infrastructure sites as well, where actually, Kenneth's doing the procedure and I'm doing the procedure, and Kenneth's on one side of the factory, I'm on the other side of the factory. Kenneth's taking 5 minutes to do the process, but Brad's taking 15 minutes to do the process. So naturally, everyone will go, it must be training or it must be the attitude. But like you said, no, what it actually is actually the tools Kenneth needs to do the procedure on his side of the factory.
Correct.
Where Brad has to stop what he's doing, go all the way to the other side of the factory to then get the tools he needs to do, to then come all the way back and do that. And it is simple, but what it's led with, and again, that's just a very individual-based procedure, but if you're talking about a couple of minutes over 500 people in a large factory, you're talking about a huge operational expense.
Right.
And what we found is people then adjust the layouts of factories and adjust the layouts of the manual handling. So you can't move the main machine, everyone gets that, but there is that manual input that goes into manufacturing and procedure that sometimes you can just adjust where people are and improve efficiency dramatically. But it's amazing. People don't pick those sorts of very simple problems up until it's too late or until they have that digital information to show them that actually there's 16, 17, 18, 19, 25 hours we could save a month here across our team if we just moved this assembly, this manual assembly line to here. So it is such a good point to where everyone goes instantly to, oh, that data is great. We can predict the machinery. We can tell this. We could use the data sets for AI. But what you sometimes find is that instantly you find operational process can be improved dramatically, which naturally increases productivity, which then increases the top line because you're making more of your product, you're distributing more of your product, you're selling more of your product because you can make it quicker. So I think that's a really, really good point and an interesting point. Sometimes it's the devil's in the very much of the detail, isn't it?
Of course. I mean, when you're digitalizing a process, it has to be very process specific, and also you can consider the individuals that are part of the process. Naturally, you have to think about how it's being done or what are the different variations. Are there possibilities to standardize? But then when I said what are we doing wrong as an organization, that comes from how I consider myself. I'm a servant leader, so I'm always looking at things from the perspective of how can I help these individuals succeed, and naturally, it's not constructive if you're always assuming that somebody's lazy and that's why they're not doing the work that they should be in some like time restriction, because you're only as good as your worst process is, really.
Here's, and I think that's it. I think process is amazing, and like I said, we come back to that point. Like I said, digital transformation can tell a million stories that you just don't see when all the paper and pens are used and is typed up in Word, because it's typed up in a predictive way. When you use things like Microsoft Word or Excel, the data just comes in a very, very flat format because it is specific to what you've done, but it doesn't capture any metadata. It doesn't capture time. It's not time stamped. The steps are not time stamped. And again, in other industries, geo-stamping is just as important as time stamping. Are you doing this in the right places, et cetera, et cetera? So I think it's a great, great point. That metadata that goes around it sometimes proves that naturally, if your weakest process is your Achilles heel, that's where it stands out dramatically. But away from that, then, the other area that you and I have talked about in the past, and I'm really interested to talk about today, is the metaverse as well. So, as I understand it, you've been involved in the Finnish government's Metaverse initiative.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, because it sounds really exciting, and I've checked it out online and that, and when you told me about it, it sounds really interesting. But yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Finland has the first national metaverse strategy in Europe, basically, and it was just released. There was a global release, I think the other week, and basically we have 5 different metaverses for different use purposes, and one of them is the industrial metaverse, and practically we're already thinking about. I'm saying we because I'm part of the working group of the national metaverse strategy and the industrial metaverse in specific. And so we're going through things like how work is going to change, how life is going to change in general, with XR technology, wearables, and metaverse, digital twins, and everything related to that. And you kind of have to think about governance and legal issues and data protection and everything that's involved. How are you thinking about how are you going to enable like learning organizations to train people in these new technologies to be ready for this huge transformation that's going to come and basically transform everybody's lives?
I think it is, and we see it just from the general. I think an easy point of reference is probably just the way people play games now. My son has a Oculus, and he's on it quite a lot. He's adapted to various different Gorilla Tag and different games you can play online in the community now, which is dramatic. He still obviously uses game consoles and those sorts of things, but if you go back to when I was younger and that, we had games consoles, and they were a completely different structure and platform to what they are now, but that involvement. So looking at in I suppose digital transformation or re-engineering the way we work in the industry, how do you see that affecting the way businesses work?
Oh, it's going to be huge. I mean, there's really no turning back. Every organization that doesn't realize that this change is going to happen will be just left for dead. That's as simply as I can put it, because the way that that technology is developing, the speed at which it's evolving is amazing, and those productivity gains that we're talking about with the help of also generative AI and everything, LLMs, it's just amazing. The different, when you're creating this infrastructure for connectivity, you'll be able to work on a couch, on an industrial machine, like at a harbor, control this machine on your couch from home. It'll just transform everything. Also it has to do with how smart cities are going to develop how people are going to connect, how enterprise is going to shift into a more digital environment. It's quite interesting, let's say.
I think interesting is a very good word for it, because it is, and I think with the industries we work in, and what we're doing today, and where we're working with some customers who are taking advantage of digital transformation, AI sits in it in a growing way. You've obviously got IoT, assets that are producing data and sensors, and that's evolving. I think from what you've said there, and I follow a similar. I think it's one of those areas where you say companies to be left for dead. I don't think that's immediate, but I think it will accelerate at speed. I think a lot of these things take that there's that high that every technology has, and I think COVID encouraged that high because of the remote working, because of, or how can I do this and how can we do this from home? It's encouraged that. Naturally, the world's come back to some sort of normality, and people have come back into the offices, etc., etc. So it's slowed it down. But I do believe it's one of those things, as we come out of the next couple of years, it will accelerate dramatically. And I think that's why, when you're speaking to clients, you try and encourage digital transformation so much now, because as customers build data lakes, they can build data sets now, and then they can use these technologies to make, I suppose, informed decision and improved decisions. But do you see it accelerating dramatically, I suppose, through 24, 25, 26, 27? Those next 3 or 4 years, I can see it, both the metaverse, XR, digital transformation, AI, accelerating dramatically in the industrial world.
Yeah. So I think it's good to clarify at this stage. I said left for dead, but basically it does come with caveats, of course, but then there's a timeline.
Yeah.
And then, the transformation speed is only accelerating. I mean, change is never going to be as slow as it is today. It'll never again be as slow as it is today. And basically, the speed is only going to accelerate. And this metaverse strategy is set for a vision to 2035. So this is kind of like the timeline that we're talking about, with all the preparation, all the strategy work, everything, all the actions that have to be put into place before things are going to happen. But those organizations that are first to adapt are going to win big.
I would agree with that dramatically. I would, and again, it's like you said, the whole conversation we've had, I see it as a stepping stone to where you're talking about, where 2035 is and where we are in 2023 will dramatically be chalk and cheese. Don't get me wrong, they'll be completely different, but it is, I think everything's in those stepping stones, and you can see customers sometimes coming in with that the education around where we are going as a working world, and then they want to try and go from 0 to 60 miles per hour really, really quick. But like you said, it's putting that infrastructure in. It's starting with the procedure, starting with the processes, what sort of architecture you build behind it, how you connect your workers, how your workers, I mean, all assets as well, not only the machinery, the individuals, the people, how they can all start producing that data and become a more automated working process. And then, like you said, we're going to see those evolvements. So I do agree dramatically. I think it's one of those, and if anyone's listening to this and are thinking and getting into that digital transformation or as an organization, it will be the businesses that have the data to make the right decisions in the future. And like you said, change will become dramatically quicker, but change is how many steps you've got to make to have that change. If it's small steps all the time, and the steps just keep evolving every year, that becomes quite a simple process, and it becomes a simple process to integrate that to your organization. It's those companies, I think, who are really digging their heels in now, and then think, oh my God, we've got to accelerate now to catch everyone else up. That's where people will struggle in the future.
Yeah. I think the most important thing, the message that I would try to give any organization is just start from something. Start small. Limit it to just a field trial or whatever. just start with one process. It really isn't that difficult, just as long as you start somewhere and just try it out, adapt it into your own processes, and make it work. Make it work for your people, because it does work. It just does work, and you just have to find the right way of doing it. And basically that's what we try to help organizations here in Finland do. Start with something and then start scaling it from there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think a lot of businesses will, and I think it's exciting as well. I think, I think a lot of businesses will evolve into that. They'll pick up things on their operational different elements and that, and I think it will be really exciting. So looking medium term and not quite as far ahead as 2035. You mentioned AI. Do you think AI is going to play a big part now in the next couple of years in digital transformation, in the work in I suppose, if we look to operational digital transformation, can you see AI playing a big part there?
Yeah, it already is. It's AI, the hype is real. It's already here. The companies that are adopting it into their own ways of doing business, improving, automating processes. It's amazing, the capabilities that you can build with AI. And there's different kind of AIs, but in terms of like machine learning processes, you can teach models to identify things, to automate processes. And then the LLMs, when you come to generative AI, and the future, like XR is the interface of AI. And basically what I mean by that is all of the data, all of the information that you have, you can first of all use these digital softwares to build a good foundation for real, valuable, actual, relevant data, and then use that data for you can use AI to use it for data analytics or whatever. But when AI is at the level it already is technically, you can connect it and ask questions relevant to your work. It's like, where do I put these two screws? Oh, I identify this motor. You have to put them there and there, and it'll just help you. And that's kind of like where we're going. And now XR will help you visually assist you to utilize AI more effectively, where you still need that human component, human interaction in the physical work or activities that still have to be done. And you never want to automate fully, because then if you automate everything, you build systems, robots to build a system. You build a system that builds and produces. Then it's going to be very difficult to improve upon that. So you always want to enable your organization to have that human interaction, that human innovation there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that human input is dramatically important for a constant improvement. And it is, I think I share, the AI side of things. And I think what excites me is, I recently had a conversation similar to this with Sean, who works for our business. And we were talking about how AI can help workflows in the future as customers build that data and information, and then you build those, complex data sets around specific elements. So as people are completing workflows, AI can then start providing suggestions. We've seen this problem before based on the information that's been collected. I think you should check A, B, and C, 3 different options. So when that individual doesn't have the answer, at the moment, we would go to a senior engineer, and, we can use technology now to make sure that is a very quick and automated process with things like remote expert and that. But then it's that next stage on again, which is then obviously having the AI come up with the most common problems. So the most common problems that this organization's seen on this asset, based on what you're doing, is A, B, and C. So again, it's using that, but again, it's that human person then actually being able to select the right option and that right information, and then continually improve it. So I think it is very exciting how AI can benefit, and I agree, it is what we are going to do. It's the buzzword at the moment, but I do believe the hype is correct. And again, using the right sort of AI for the right tasks and the right procedures will make a massive difference in the future.
Yeah, definitely. AI will just enable the humans to succeed better.
Yeah. It won't all be like Terminator, like my mom tells me when she sees it on the news and those sorts of things. So it won't all be Skynet, so we'll be okay. We'll be okay. Excellent. Look, I think we've covered off everything now. I think we've gone through digital transformation, the metaverse, and it's interesting to hear what similar challenges we face in that operational world, and you know I suppose the excitement for the future. So I want to say a big thank you, Kenneth. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I've really enjoyed the chat, and I appreciate you coming on. If anyone's out there and they're listening to this and they want to get hold of you, Kenneth, how can they get hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Kenneth Korhonen, or on stereoscape.com.
And I would recommend that as well, because there's some great things that Kenneth's doing. And again, as well, that the Metaverse, part of the Finnish initiative as well. I think that's exciting to look up as well. I have looked at it, and there's some really cool stuff they're doing, not just in our environment, but other elements where Metaverse is going to be used in general life as well, not just the working life. So I'd recommend and check that out. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening as well. Goodbye from Kenneth and myself, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.